Welcome back, guys. Today, sorry for the long wait. I was having my exam, so I was not able to upload. Today, let's build a project, weather app using React and Open Meteo API. So we'll be get to know how to use an API. So let's start with a project. Uh, let's start with a React project. So we say npm create React app, and we say it is a weather app for YouTube. In this project, we don't it says create React app. Okay, it's np not npm, it's npx. So npx create React app weather app YouTube. So let's look at what we will be using today. So first thing is the API. This is the weather API. You can go to openmeteo.com and it's a free API. You don't need to log in or sign in to get any API keys. You can directly start with this. So if you go to the documentation, these are all the data that we'll be getting. You can select whatever data you want. So for this project, I am going to be selecting these all: weather code. I don't want this. Wind speed, wind direction, maybe not wind direction, only wind speed is enough. We need temperature, and we can also say any additionally if you need is day or night. I'm taking that, and then these maximum temperatures and all. So you can play with this, see what you need and what you don't need. Okay, that's all I guess. And then when you scroll down, this link, this is the API endpoint request that you need to send. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this, and you can see here latitude and longitude. So this is where you need to provide a specific latitude and longitude to get the weather condition for that location in particular. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this as of now into a notepad file, paste this, keep it here, and we'll be using that link to fetch the data from the API. The secondly, we'll be using Material UI. So you type in Material UI and you go to the first link. Here you will see a lot of components which are built. You can go to, I think, get installation. So installation is pretty simple. They have the commands for you directly. You can just copy paste the commands and run it. And this is a library where you get all your you can get components, you can get your icons. So you can see buttons, icons as well, images that you can be using. So you have these components here: inputs, radio button, select, slide, a lots of pre-built components that you can directly use in your projects. We will be using only the icons this time, and of course we'll use Tailwind CSS to style the project. So yeah, this is done. So let's start with this. So I'll open this project in VS Studio VS Code, and once it is open, I can close this terminal. Here, as usual, I'll delete the unnecessary files like app.css, app.test.js, logo.svg, and setup test. Can remove them. Go to app.js, remove these two imports. I'll also clear this thing here. I don't need this. And also remove this class thing here. And here I'll say h1 which says weather app. Save it. Okay, so prettier is getting triggered. Index.css, I'll remove everything. Save it. Index.js is as it is. So first thing to be done is install Tailwind CSS so that we can style our project. So open this up, Tailwind CSS, go to the first link as we did it in the previous projects, the same, copy this. Oh, okay, we can copy the entire thing as we're using npm. Okay, here, open the terminal, open second terminal to installation, copy the command, run it. So this will install the required packages of Tailwind CSS. That's done. Next thing here we need is to initialize our Tailwind CSS. So we copy this command and again paste it, run it. So this will create a Tailwind config file, tailwind css.config file in the directory. Here it is. So now we can just copy paste the required code here. So firstly we need to specify which directories the Tailwind CSS can use. So it can use, in this case, it will be able to use for every file inside the src directory which has this extension. And then I need to copy these utility classes which will help us defining our Tailwind CSS. And then that's it. So we are done with Tailwind CSS, I guess. So we can start our project, npm start, and if everything was right, they should start up the project with a plain text saying weather app with no styling. So let's see what happens here. Mm, okay, it's starting up. So we are done with Tailwind CSS, so we can close it. And it's opening up here. Okay, so I'll just move it to that window so that I can like bring it side by side and do the styling we need. So okay, Tailwind configuration is going on. So for this Material UI, we can go to the installation. Um, Material UI motion icons. Okay, and if I go to icons, the new update I also get a command for only downloading icons, which says icon material, style, and react. So I think this one command would be enough for us in this case because we are only going to use. Okay, so the app is ready here. So I think we can also install Material UI because it takes some time to install it. So I copy that command, paste it here, and let it install it. So we'll start with the basic UI first. So in this, we won't require Firebase because we're not going to store anything because the API provides us. Whenever we need something, we call the API and the API provides us with its data. So we can directly start from here. Firstly, I'll say we have something called as a sidebar. So we have a div, and firstly we'll create a form through which the user can select the country and the city of about which the weather details he or she requires. So for that, I'll be using this React Select package, which is this cool drop down. like this. And another package would be country, state, city, npm. This is an npm package which has the details like of countries and cities and states of the country. So we're using this to populate our select. So if the material UI is still being installed, so okay. So we'll have a sidebar and then we'll have our body of the application. So here, firstly, we'll have a form. Oh, it's still installing material UI. So here we'll be using the React select component that we just saw here. So this basically provides us with this beautiful UI of this the drop down menu, and it accepts the data only in this format, the value and the label. So we'll make the data uh, manipulate the data in this format and then give it to this select component so that it can display it. And this country, state, city we can directly use. It has certain functions like yeah, here get state by code, get states of country. So we can make use of these functions to get the data and we'll populate it inside our select. So firstly, let me install this package. So I go up, I copy this command, install it, country, state, city package. This should not take much time. That's done. Then we can also install this, and it says here npm install react select, npm install react select. This also should be done quickly. It's not a big package. And it's done. So now we can directly use it here. So firstly, we can say we have a select, so it's not being triggered, so I need to import it manually. So I import select from react select, and we have basically two selects, one for country and one for city, and we have a button which says get weather, and this will have the basic stylings like we do in all the projects. It will be a bg of 400, width will be full, adding y will be 3, text will be white, text will be small, and the font will be bold. And when you hover, I want it to scale to 105 with the transition. We're having a duration of 200 milliseconds and it should ease in and out. So that brings in a button there. And this div which contains the form, okay. And our class name, it says flex, and it should be a flex column, so it comes one below the other, and just a space y of 3 so that it's spaced out a bit. Okay, so first now let's we already installed the country state city package, so we can make use of it. So I'll have here a function called a use state variable called all countries to store all the countries here, and set all countries, and this will be a user state of an empty array. And we also have another is cost use state variable saying selected country. So the country which the user selects will be updated here. Set selected country. This will be not an array but an object. So firstly I take a use effect and make this use effect run only on a page render, only when the page renders for the first time. So basically use effect is a function that would run only on certain conditions. So when you mention it as a dependent, it has a dependency array which is basically the condition. So if the dependency array is empty, it means that it will run only when the application loads and run once when the application loads, and then it never runs. So when this happens, I want to collect the data and set it to countries. So I say set all countries to, I'll say country, which comes from country state city package, and say dot get all countries, but I don't want all the data, but instead I'll map through each country and implicitly return an object which contains a value, and the value will be will take in some values like the latitude of that country, and it will be provided by the country state city API or the package. So you can see here the country dot latitude. You can take in the longitude, which will be country dot longitude. We'll take also the ISO code, which is a specific code, a unique code for each country, and country dot ISO code. And for the label part, we can say country dot name. So now we have this. So in order to check whether we fetched everything, I can say console log and say all countries. And if I come here, inspect it, go to console, I get an array of 250 elements. So we are getting the data. So I can remove this, and to the select, I can just say that the options that you have for the first select is all countries. If I save that and I come here, click on the drop down menu, you can see that we have a countries list of countries. So we can also say that the value will be selected country, and whenever there's a change, I'll call a function called handle selected country, and this will give me an error. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this will give me an error because there is no such function. So I'll say create a function, and by default the select actually returns an something called as an option, which is basically the selected option. So now I can see, firstly I can see uh, set selected country to this option, and I'll also take another use state variable which is the selected city, set selected city use state of an array, and when a country is selected, I want to set the selected city to null first. so that if a user selects a country, then whatever was previously selected by the city, it will be vanished and the user can select a new value now. So now it says no options because there's no data for it. So we can provide the data here in the select. I'll say options, and here I can say city. It's again coming from country state city dot get cities of country, and I need to pass the selected country's ISO code. So I'll say selected country just to make sure it doesn't show an error when there is no selected country. I'll use the optional chaining, and I'll say the value dot ISO code. So now what it does is, based on this ISO code, it will give me the cities that belong to the particular country. So that's one. So now if I select Albania and wait for a few seconds and click here, okay, it shows me nothing. Why? Okay, so there are things. Okay, because the reason is being this React select accepts data in the form of value and label, and by default the data that comes back is not in that format, so I need to map through it and change it to that. So I need to map through each city and implicitly return an object which will have value, and here also I need the latitude again of the city now, so it will be city dot. Okay, system is becoming a bit slow now, I don't know why. Longitude is city dot longitude, and I guess that's enough, latitude and longitude for the city. And for the label I can say city dot name. Now if I enter and I go here, here it loads the cities now. So I can select any country here, Australia, and I can come here. It will take some time to load, and once it loads, it shows us entire all the cities that are available in that country, that are present in that country. Sorry. So now one part of the is done. So now we can like, I want this not so big, so I'll make this as a maximum. Okay, not a maximum, but I'll use it. Okay. So now after this, I'll create another div wherein I'll display the country and the city name, and below that I'll display the longitude and latitude of that city. So firstly, I can display a paragraph saying, okay, I didn't make the changes here because like now when you select any city, it's not going to be stored somewhere. So I need to make sure that it is stored. So for that I can say the value is selected city, and again the same on change I say handle selected city, and it's not have del, it's handle. I'll copy that, bring it here, sorry, const, and as usual it returns an option, and here I can say set selected city to that option. So now and it says select. Okay, it's because here. So now if I say selected country dot label and I just option change it and save it, and here it comes Australia. And I can also mention the city, so selected city dot label, and it's not. Why? Oh, I didn't select any city. Maybe that's the reason. And I select, and yeah, I didn't select any city previously prior to that. That's why it was not showing. So now we have this Australia and this here. And then below this, I can say another paragraph, and it has this coordinates. And firstly, I'll say the latitude. So it is selected city dot value dot latitude, and you can say selected city dot value dot longitude, and it should show up here, and that's the latitude and longitude. And can also mention that this is a flex, and the flex is of a column type, so it comes one below the other, and a space y of 2, and that's okay. Okay, this div is done. Another div here for, I'll be displaying the this div. Let's see if I want to check whether my fetching, because I need to display the sunrise time and sunset time. That can be only made when I show that the data fetched has returned that data. Okay, so now we're done with that. Basically now we can just style this to not take up the entire screen. So for that, this is it. So here I'll say, okay, so firstly I'll do something here. In the body I'll say something like the body, and it will be displayed below here. So I wanted to display side by side. So I'll say this, the entire the parent div is a flags, and it has a flags, so that they two go side by side now. And this the parent, I could say that the max width is 7 pixel, and the margin in the x-axis should be auto, so that it is centered, and now it should move. Okay, it moved. That's okay. And now I can say this div, that the sidebar div, it has the height of the screen, and the BG will be a blue 950. Alright, and it has a padding of 3. So that's okay. That's looking pretty good. And let's change these colors now for this div. So for this div, I can simply say here the text is white, so that the text becomes white now. Yeah, and maybe the font can be given a semi bold. Alright, that's okay. So now let's start with the body part here. So in the body, what can we do is I'll be using a React library which is called Tremor. So it is called tremor.so, and here it is. This is again a React library which can be used to build dashboards. A bit, you can say it a bit similar to Material UI, which has components. So it also has multiple components like the charts, graphs, badges, buttons, bar lists, callouts, cards, data bars, and a bunch of them. So we'll be using this. So I'll scroll down, click on get started, scroll down, and we have already created our project, so we can directly start with this. I'll copy this command, install it. If you wish, you can also create your own cards by using the basic styling with CSS. But for time being, I'll be using this Tremor library, which is really a good library to build fast UIs. So once this is installed, we again need to make some changes to the Tailwind CSS config file, because as you can see here, we need to make sure that this statement, that is, we can, just like we did for Tailwind CSS, we need to also make sure that uh, Tremor is initialized properly. And this is basically a basic styling provided by Tremor, which is mandatory to be copy pasted in our files. So if it is installed, no, it's still installing. All right, let's just wait for some time. And just copy paste this. You just copy paste this, and that's it. Then we can start with the development. So, where is this being installed or is stuck? Okay, it's being installed. Okay, that's done. So now we can simply copy this and open our Tailwind config file, replace this, save it, and to be on a safer side, it restarts the server because we saved the file. But to be on a safer side, I'll also restart the server. Maybe let's see if the Tremor part doesn't work, then we'll restart it. So for the Tremor part, I'll create a div first, and let me use this card component from Tremor, and it shows me the IntelliSense for Tremor. It auto imported card from Tremor/React, and if I save this, nothing happened. But it should have been, something should have happened, because okay, I got it. I think I should restart the server because we changed the config file. Okay, so that's the problem, because it's not still compiling the project. So let's wait for some time. Let's wait it until it finishes the compilation and see whether we get a card here. Basically a Tremor card. It should look like this. There it is, card. It's a basic card, should be like similar to this. Then we can style it. We'll make it look like this, and it's complete. Okay, okay. We didn't get the card. Let me just refresh it for a second to see if the styling is getting applied or the card is getting rendered. Okay, why is this happening? Alright, and just bring it here, close this server, close this, and again start the server. We should get this, but we didn't get this. Did we miss something in the installation part? Okay, we did this. Oh, we did do this, but because the same thing can be seen here in the next command, so that's why I skipped that and directly copy pasted this. But now I'm not getting why. Okay, it's still loading. Alright, so well, that's there. We will be using this card component and uh, this area chart and this line chart in our application today. Feel free, this is something new which was added very recently, this scatter chart. You can feel free to use my other components from here and make your build more UI friendly. So let's see if Tremor was installed properly. It's taking a lot of time to start the server. Mhm. Okay, uh, we have a card here, I guess. There's something showing up here. I still don't understand. Alright, so we are okay. So to clearly see that, I think I need to change the sizes here for this flag. I'll say the first sidebar there will take about 20% of the screen. Maybe 25% of the screen. Sorry, not flex, but width 25%. And this body part will take a 75% of the screen. And now you can see that. Alright, so for this I'll keep this screen full. Now we can see there's nothing here because we restarted the application, so we need to select again the city and the state. So if I select this, and there it comes now. So that's there, and this is a card. You can't see it actually now, but it should have been clearly seen because by default here also I'll say height screen and I say BG is white, or I cannot mention because by default it is white. So there's something shown up here, but it is not applying the default colors, maybe. So I also take this title component from React and mention maybe temperature and then a metric to display the value. So maybe I'll say 23 now, and it's saying it should render here. You can see temperature 23. So now you can't see the card actually. So basically what I'll do is I'll say I'll decorate the card at the top. So this will make decoration to the top part of the basically the top border. And I'll say the color of this decoration should be red. And now there you go. And also I'll say with a provide a class name and say the BG should be a gray of 100. And if I save that, you will see no changes here because by default, okay, so background color changed. Alright, my bad. And I'll say this text should be the centers so that it's moved to the center here. That's good. Alright, so now that's the card. And basically in this day, I want 3 cards. One for the temperature. Let it load. Let's see how it looks. Okay, it comes one below the other. This div I can make it a flex with items at the center and just a spacing of 2. So how does that look now? Okay, perfect. And maybe for the entire div I can say space x of 1 so that they don't touch each other maybe. Oh wait, okay, that's good. So now that's that. Now we can what we can do is fetch the data first from the API. So now when you select the country and the city and then you click on get weather, I'll trigger a fetch a call and it will fetch the data from the API. So we have already copied the API link in this notepad file. So I'll copy that as of now. And here what we can do is on click of this button, I can call uh, get weather details function, and this function will basically perform the fetch call, and it will be a async function because we are fetching it from an API, so it could take some time. So firstly what I can do is I'll firstly prevent the default refresh action so that it doesn't refresh when we press that button. So submit button. And then to store the data which is fetched from the API, I'll create a use state saying weather details, set weather details, and this will be a use state of an array because it returns an array of objects. And after this, I can say here const fetch weather will be await of fetch. So this is a JavaScript function which is basically used to fetch data from an external API or some other endpoints that you have to make it easy for us to code. So now I can say backtext and paste, oh, not this, sorry. I need to just paste that link here. So I'll copy this link, come here, paste the link. And now you might have noticed here that it says latitude equal this, longitude equal this. Now this was the default value that was provided by the API. So the reason why I used backticks was because since we have our latitude and longitude available, we can change these values so that we can dynamically pass a certain latitude and longitude and get the forecast for that particular latitude and longitude of that particular city. So now instead of this hard-coded value, I'll use our JSX operator and mention there we have something called selected city, inside which we have something called value, and inside which we have something called latitude. So now it will pass the selected city's latitude, and the same thing goes over here for the longitude also. So selected city dot value dot longitude. So now we have made this request a dynamic request, and now once you get some data from the API, I want you to convert that data to a JSON format which will be easier for us to access. And after converting that, I want to set the weather details state that we created to this data. So now that happens, and to check, I can say console log the weather details. And if I come here, I'll inspect it so that you can see the data. Go to the console, and now it's an empty array by default. So I click on this, I go to Albania and 1 hour, and I say get weather, and okay, time zone is required error. Okay, so that's the error. Okay, that's not a problem. I can go to our API. The thing that I missed was here. This time zone is a required thing. Before you, when you select your variables that you want, you also need to mention a time zone here. So I'll just mention GMT 0, and now copy this newly updated URL. Instead of this, paste that, and now here it shows the time zone is GMT, and then I can make the changes here. So I'll say selected city, again the same thing, dot value dot latitude. Oh, sorry, it's longitude here, and latitude is a bit ahead here. So you can say selected city dot value dot latitude, and now this should work. So now if I say refresh the application once so that the changes are being made. Okay, now the array is empty. I can select a country, I can select a city, and I say get weather, and here you go. Within a few seconds, you get the entire details over here. So now you can see you get the daily readings of temperature, maximum, minimum, sunrise, sunset. Okay, so we are getting sunrise and sunset also. And we have this wind speed also, which we got. And in hourly basis, we can see our temperature. So this hourly array, will be using it for the chart purposes, the graph that we'll be performing. And for these three cards, we'll be using the temperature. One is the temperature, the other one will be the wind speed, and the other one will be this UV index. These three things will be displayed here. And for the charts, we'll be using from the Harley. And for to be more specific, we'll be using this temperature chart, temperature against time, and where did it go? Oh, here, relative humidity against time. So that will be the two charts will be displayed in the screen. So now I'll keep it this way so that I can see the variable names properly. So now we know that we're getting the data. So we can scroll down here. For these cards, we can change this. So for the temperature, it gives us in degrees Celsius. So if I go to here and I say degree Celsius in the browser, I can type degree Celsius in HTML, and I'll get this Unicode, I guess, for that degree Celsius. So if you scroll down, and yes, degree Celsius is here, and if you try it, you'll get the code for that, and it's this. You can just copy that because we need that here. You can go here, and for the temperature part, we can say that it is from the weather details array that you have. I'll use optional chaining again because sometimes it could be undefined. Inside that, we have something called a daily array, and inside that array, we have this apparent temperature max. Or I can use this temperature 2m max. Any of this can be used. So I'm using this temperature 2x max. I'll just copy this term from here. Okay, paste it here, and the first value should be displayed. If I save this, you'll see this change to 33.1, which is here, the first value. And now for the degrees Celsius, I said we can copy this. Oh, I already copied it. I can copy that and paste it here, and you can see the degree Celsius here. That's perfect. Now, secondly, I've said we will be using wind speed. So for the second, I can say here it is the wind speed, and here the data will be again from weather details. We have the daily array, and inside that we have this wind speed max, and that of 0, and the wind speed is given us to in kilometer per hour. So if we say that, it says 113.6 kilometer per hour. That's perfect. And another thing that I wanted to show was the UV index here. So for the third, I can say this is UV index, and again from the weather details, I can get the daily array, and inside that we have this UV index max column. Sorry, not here. It should be here, and 0. And if I say that, it will now change to that. Perfect. So one thing I wanted to do was the color. The top color for all the three is now as of now red. I don't want red for all of them. For one, I'll change it to a yellow. So it's not yellow, maybe a blue. And the third, I can change it to a green. So now change. Okay, that's changed. And for also for this title, I want it to be a little a grade color. So I'll say text gray of 600. Check the color if it's good. Did it change? I'm not sure that it changed the color. I think it did change the color. So I can like copy the same class for all the titles. Um, that's okay. So now we can look on the charts. So below this, I can create another div for the charts, and we'll be using two charts. So firstly, I'll make a area chart card. It will be a component that I'll be creating here inside our components folder, RFCE, workout, RFCE. So if you don't have that RFCE snippet working, go to your extensions, search for ES7 and this one. ES7 plus Redux React Native snippets. Install that and you'll be able to do that snippet work. Now I can just use control space import it and it should show me area chart card. Okay. So now what I'll do here is first thing is I need the weather details on that page on that card sorry component. So I'll pass in the weather details from here as a prop weather details. So I can get the props from here and say if I want to use the props I need to use props dot and the name, but instead we can use this destructuring format and directly get the weather details. And what I'll do here is I'll create a card first from Tremor React and inside that provide it a title as temperature versus time, and then I'll create a area chart from Tremor React and it's a self-closing tag. Now now you can see that nothing happened here, but it says title is not defined. Okay, I didn't import it, I guess. So title from React, Tremor, and now here you go. It says temperatures is time and it says no data here because we didn't provide any data to this chart. So for that, I need to show you something. So when we are using some charts, it accepts the data in a particular format. So this is how a chart will look, and it accepts the data in this format. So it accepts only this format. So now we need to change our data to this format so that we can display, we can make use of this area chart. And these are certain props that we can use with it. So firstly, what we can do is I'll go up here. We have our weather details complete array here, but I don't want it completely. So I'll say a use effect again here to run only once when the component is loaded. I'll say we have a variable called hourly, so which will use it to store the time in a specific format. So what we do is we can say weather details. It has something called hourly, and inside that it has something called, I think, time. So we don't need daily now. We need hourly, and inside hourly it has something called time here. Yes. So we can say time, and we can map through this time, and we can return a new date for this time to convert into a date format, a JavaScript date format, and then we can like convert it to a local string. Local string, and we want it is in English, US English, and we don't want the entire Harley data, we just want the first 24 records from that. Okay, that is Harley now. So now we can see is we can like map through this Harley dot map, and it returns each hour with its index, and I'll create a state to store the data. So it is called as chart data, comma set chart data. It will be a user state of an array. It's throwing an error because I didn't complete it here. So implicitly return and set our chart data to an object wherein we have the time, which will be our number. We'll convert that to a number, the hour into a number, and then we have something called temperature, which will be weather details dot hourly dot, and okay, it's still that error. And here we have the apparent temperature. We have the apparent temperature of ith index element. So now if I say this, and if we did it correctly, when I pass it here, data will be chart data, it should show us something. Okay, we didn't. I think we need to mention this other props for it. So it has something like index, categories, and colors. They are important, I guess. So let me try it out. We have the index as time and categories as we have only one category, which is temperature, and this should match with the name. This should match with this name given here, and the colors I want it to need to be indigo. Okay, did it change? No. Did I save the file? Yes. Did I render it here? Yes. And still it's not displaying the data, which means this data is not in the correct format. I'm missing something here, I guess. So the data which was conversion is not proper. I need to figure it out why it's that. So the reason why it's not coming here is because the data is not in the proper format. The, so we need to mention here that the har value is numeric and we want it in a 24-hour format. So har12 we say it's false. And now it's still not coming up. Let me check with this value. Paste it here, save it. And why is this data not getting? Maybe I change the that's getting changed, okay, but this data is not getting rendered. Everything is going perfect. So let me just console log the chart data once so that if there is any error we can figure it out why there is some error because we are not getting the chart. So here we can see, okay, we are getting only one record and not an array. Okay, so why is that happening? So before this, let's console log Harley here, and if I refresh, oh, I shouldn't have refreshed. I should have just changed the country and the city. Okay, so Albania, Banas, get weather. Okay, so area chart code 23. 23. Okay, that's not data. So okay, here we go. The first 24. Okay, it's 168 records. Alright, it says the 124 records. Maybe this dot slide should come. No, that was perfect. And it says 168 records are being added. But I wanted only 0 to 24. Okay. gets 168 here, but gets only one record updated over here. So that's something weird happening. Alright, okay, what's the mistake now? What is the mistake? Alright, index, okay, everything is okay. The mistake is happening somewhere here. I think it's here or somewhere in this. It's happening map to time. New date of time. Dot to say the hard is numeric and hard 12 is wall. Okay, and it slides at 24. Okay. The hard did map. Mhm. Okay. Oh my god. Why is this happening? Only one record being updated here. Why? So yeah, the mistake is here. We are mapping through it and then setting the data. That's the mistake here. What we basically need to do was first say set chart data, and then inside this map through Harley and return chart and an index I, and implicitly return an object which will have time, which will be converting this hour into a number, and the temperature in degrees Celsius, which will be weather details dot hourly dot, I think temperature 2m, temperature underscore 2m of I. Save this and now select some other. Okay, so this country has no state. Okay, wow, that's weird. Get weather and oh, what? And you can see the graph coming up now. So that's one graph done. Let's try to add another graph and we call it as the line chart card, which will have the weather details passed in. And actually will have the same code with just one slight change. Sorry. Inside here, see. Oh my god. Here we see again our snippet. We have a snippet. We import this, and then what we do, we just copy this part over here. Oh, we can remove this. I can copy this use state from here, paste it here, copy this state variable, save it, import use state, import use effect, and instead of here, you can also copy this. Instead of this, paste it here, import card from Tremor, import title from Tremor, and instead of this area chart, we can import line chart from Tremor. Save this, go here, and it says weather details is not defined. Yeah, because we passed it as a prop and we didn't restructure it here, so we say weather details, and we get an error that use state is not defined. Why? We have use state here defined up here. Then why is it happening? We can just refresh and see whether it is some compiler error or okay, it says no data now. We gave it Albania and Banaj. Get the weather that comes up, and why is this data not being passed now? Oh my god. What we called it here, humidity was called as what was the wheel name? Alright, but just not whether it is humidity. It'll throw me an error now. But just keep it as it is. And maybe go to the app or in the line chart. I can console log the weather details and inspect console and I get this. Hardly we have humidity, okay, relative humidity 2M. Oh shit, paste it here and change this to humidity Alright, now humidity is coming, but temperature is not coming. Why? Did I remove something here? No. And there's a yellow. But the temperature data is not coming now. Am I passing the data from here? Yes. Area chart card, then line chart. But the area chart is not being displayed. Why? I'll try. Okay, it says React hook as a replacing dependency, weather details. And chart is also need that. Okay. So it's not fetching because the use effect was running a dependency. Alright. So now we can see here, we are almost done with this. We can select our country, any country, wait for a few seconds because the city may take some time to load, and we got that now. So we can say I want maybe Adamstown, and I get the weather, and you can see in real time just changes, the value changes, the graph changes, and that's it. So I think we can wrap the project up here today. So if you're loving this kind of projects, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends that they can learn and try to build the project on your own. So I'll meet you in the next video. Bye bye.